I've made six figures day trading prop firms, and I never would have made that amount of money had I not learned the right way of approaching the funded phase. Because let's be real, a lot of traders don't have a problem with getting funded. They have a problem with the part that matters the most, getting payouts and getting a consistent payout. There is nothing more painful as a trader than to go all through that challenge phase, only to get to the funded phase, to blow the account and never getting a single payout. That's why in this video, in episode 3 of how to trade prop firms the right way, I'm going to be sharing with you the formula to approaching the funded phase that I've learned that's allowed me to make six figures day trading prop firms, because I promise you there is a formula to it. So if that sounds good, be sure to stick around and watch this video all the way through to the end, because you're not going to want to miss out on this. Before I share with you guys the formulas that I use that you can also use to get to consistently pulling in 10k per month using prop firms, we need to talk about the most common things that you're probably facing right now and how to navigate it so you can get ahead of it. Because if you can't address this stuff earlier on, anything I'm going to share with you in this video is not going to help you, because you're not going to be approaching the funded phase in the right way. So we need to go through and get you guys to understand the things that you're probably doing wrong right now that you might not even realize you're doing wrong. Then when it comes to actually making money with the funded, it becomes a lot easier. I don't know, there's this thing that when we get into the funded phase, things just go pear-shaped, and I'm sure you've experienced, you know, you get through the challenge phase, you get funded, then you get funded, and then you just don't get anywhere. The most common one that you'll probably don't even realize that you're doing subconsciously is that you're taking your challenge mindset into the funded phase. And I'm a victim of this as well. When I really first started earlier in prop firms, I'd, get through the challenge phase, fairly well. Sometimes I'd fail a challenge, but then when I get through to the challenge phase and I go through the funded, I end up treating the funded phase like the challenge phase in terms of risk management per se. And I'd realize that the more I'm treating the funded phase more like the challenge phase, my results were not tying up. Because what you need to do is that you need to have a different approach from how you treat the challenge phase and the funded phase. Because in the funded phase, you're supposed to slow down. Don't start rushing things. Don't rush the process. Because obviously I know that my advice in the challenge phase, if you haven't watched episode 1 of this series yet, go check out after this video where I talk about how to get through the challenge phase. My approach to the challenge phase is very different to my approach to the funded phase, as you'll see as we progress in this video. But you need to remove the mindset of how you take on the challenge phase. You need to treat the funded phase very differently, because it is a totally different ballgame. You're now in an opportunity where you can make money. So how you then trade going forward should be different if you want a different result. So the idea of trying to speed run the funded phase when you've already made it, you're only going to put psychological pressure on yourself, and the need that you need to get a payout quickly. By you approaching it in the way that you'd approach a challenge phase, it's only going to lead to more blown up accounts. And I'm sure you've experienced it. You've blown so many accounts because you're just going in with the same mentality. You need to start looking at it with a different perspective and remove that and take yourself as, okay, I've made it to the funded phase. Now what can I do differently that's going to allow me to get through this and actually get a payout? Because the most important thing is getting a payout. And then we're all here to make money, and it's a mindset issue that you need to change in terms of your perspective of how you go into the funded phase. Because believe me, we've all been there, all blown accounts. But one of the most things I've noticed within myself that I can say from experience was that I used to treat those two phases like the same, and it wasn't until I started treating them differently that's when I started seeing much more consistent results. And by no way, shape or form I'm saying that slowing down is the only way to make the funded phase work, right? That's not what I'm saying, because there are formulas and there are ways to be able to, speed run things, but also be conservative in your approach to actually getting paid. And you're going to see with the formulas I'm going to share with you in this video, right, as we get further along, you're going to see there's different formulas that you can actually use that's actually going to help you get paid consistently. Another more common one that I tend to see within my friends that trade and within myself that I used to see a lot when I first started out with prop firms and I was getting funded and actually making it to a funded phase, is emotional investment within the funded accounts, right? And I know it's like paradoxical and it's like an opposing thing, because you've put in all the hard work to get through a challenge phase. We all know how hard a challenge phase is to get through. So you might fail one in phase 1, and then you try again, you might fail another, and then you get to a point where you're actually funded. That's going to have some sort of emotional impact on you, because the emotional toll it takes to get through a challenge phase, especially if you've never actually successfully gone through one and you've always just came like shy and very close to passing and never actually passed one, it takes a lot of emotional toll. So you're gonna be naturally emotionally attached to that funded account. But when it comes to this business of prop firms, that is the worst thing you can actually do, is to be emotionally tied to your funded account, because it's going to allow you to make poor decisions. For example, you might see a trading opportunity, right? You've made it to the funded phase, you're now in the funded phase, but because you're so emotionally attached to the account and you're playing it safe, you might see an opportunity, a trading setup, right? It's a high probability setup that you normally take, but because you're so emotionally attached to that account, you might have doubt in actually taking that setup, and that doubt is going to lead you to not taking that trade opportunity that you've seen that your system allows you to participate in. But because you didn't take it, because you doubted it, because you wanted to protect the funded account that you had, and then let's say that trade goes to plan, and then that trade hits T-pin, you're like, oh my god, I wish I would have taken that trade. And then you say, oh, next time when another trade comes up, I'm going to take it. And then next time a trade might never even have as high probability as the one you did last time, but because now you're fighting against yourself to show that you're not doubting your system, you might take that trade, and then you might take a loss, and then that's how the tilting starts, and then before you know it, you've blown an account. So emotionally investing yourself to a funded account is the worst thing you can do, because you're going to put psychological pressure on yourself to perform, because you're treating it as this baby that you need to protect. No, treat it as cost of doing business, right? Just treat it as, okay, this is an account that I've made from, investing X amount of money, and I'm just going to treat it as, if I blow it, I'll blow it. If I make money on it, good. But I'm not going to be emotionally attached to the outcomes of what happens in this funded account, because the moment you do that, that's the moment you're going to start actually slipping away, and you're going to start making bad decisions. Those bad decisions are actually going to lead you to actually blowing your account more often than not, because you're not thinking from a probability standpoint, you're not thinking from a systematic standpoint, you're letting emotions cloud your judgment when it actually comes to trading. And trading is about your process. Just trust in your process over how you're feeling, and if you can have discernment within those two things, and being able to recognize that right now you're making an emotional decision rather than a systemic one, you're going to be out ahead further than everyone else, because the moment you can do that, that's the moment you're going to be able to start making better decisions within the funded phase. And the better decisions you make, the more like you're going to be able to take better trades and be able to perform better. Another one that I do see quite a lot, and I struggle with myself, I struggled with it for a long time, and that I sometimes, when I do have like a bad run with funded accounts, I still do, this still gets me, I'm not, Superman. I still struggle with certain things, but the one I see the most is the drawdown restoration. It kind of ties into emotional investment as well, but sometimes, you might start a funded account, you might pass it fresh, oh my god, yes, I'm ready to make money, and then boom, your first trade is a loser. I know many of you guys experienced that. Your first trade, you loser. You might lose, let's say, $500 on a 50k account. So now you're down to $1,500 drawdown, and you think, oh shit, I need to make this money back. The moment you start getting into, I need to make this money back, your decisions and judgment is already going to be clouded in terms of how you actually approach the market. And more often than not, you're going to just see that you're going to start chasing to get back to break even or to get to a bit profitable. And that's just going to lead you to a path where you're going to burn that account down, right? One of the best things I've noticed that's worked for me is that if you get in drawdown, just stop. If you've seen that you've taken one trade and you've lost, there's a likely chance that if your second trade, it might not be the best trade, but if you take 2 losses in a row, just don't trade at all. There's no point of you continuing trading after taking 2 losses. The probability of you that you're going to perform better are so low. I know some of you guys are going to be like, yeah, that's bullshit, Jared, whatever. I've taken then 3 trades and then I've managed to bring it back. Yes, that happens. Sometimes I've done it as well, but if we're talking about statistics and probabilities, the chance that you're going to be able to bring that account back is going to be much, much lower than it is for you to just stop and then waiting for a new day to come and then you taking on other opportunities within the market, because trading opportunities are like buses. There's one coming around every time. So you don't need to be worried about, oh, I don't know, I'm going to miss out an opportunity. No, there's another opportunity to participate in the market coming along right before you know it. So when you start going to draw down, slow down, half your risk, and then start building back until you get back to break even. When you take a loss, half your risk, keep halving your risk until you get back to break even, and then then you can start again your process. But if you just keep going within the same risk, you're going to blow the account, and then you're going to have to restart the whole process again. So it's just not worth it. All right. So the two parts in the funded phase to get paid. There's two routes that I like to implement when I'm trading the funded phase that allow me to have a higher chance of success within the funded phase. And I'm going to break them down to you here. One is the base hit route, and the other one is the front run route. The base hit route, you might have heard me talk about it before, and you've probably heard other traders talk about it, is that going for small consistent win over time leads to more success within the funded phase. That is true. The base route is that you're aiming for a low hanging fruit that's easy to get, $200 to $500 per day. You're using the 1-0 mentality. You take one trade, one good trade in a day. If you make money, you stop. If you lose, you stop for the day. That's going to allow you to just be consistent, because one, you're keeping your risk low, so you're going to actually be in the game long enough for you to actually start making a profit. And two, you have that mental clarity of, okay, I'm in, I'm out, I'm done. That allows you to go in the market and be more consistent, because you're not aiming for 100 points, 200 points, 50 points in a trade. You're aiming for very simple low hanging fruit, and it's a lot more easier to get that low hanging fruit, especially if you're trading Nasdaq. I'm sure you know Nasdaq can do an average 200 points in a day. You know, getting 30 points, 25 points out of Nasdaq to make $250, $500 in a day is not difficult, right? But it's that mentality of that 1-0 mentality and that base hit route. That's what's gonna bring the consistency for you. It's a great way of being consistent within the funded phase. And if you stack base hits, yes, it will take you a bit longer to get paid. It takes a lot of patience to be able to do base hits, because think about it, you're going for $250, $500 per day, 25 points, and then Nasdaq moves 200 points. You're like, oh shit, I should have held, or you know what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of things that start getting into your mind and start influencing you, and then you might then try get back in the market when you shouldn't have, and things fuck up and you're there, you end up tilting, you blow the account. So base hits teaches you a lot of discipline and a lot of patience, and if you can master base hits, it will make your ability to be more consistent with funded accounts a lot more easier. My preferred route, because I like my person that's a little bit more aggressive, I like the front run route. And with the front run route, essentially what I'm saying is that what you're going to do is you ideally want to take one good trade on your first, so you get a fresh funded account, right? Let's say it's a 50k and you got $2,000. And what I'm doing is I'm taking $500, I'm risking $500 on that first trade, aiming for a big RR. Ideally I want to make $2,000 or more on that trade, right? The idea is to make and build my buffer as quickly as possible. So obviously I know there's like consistency rules to getting paid, like you can only withdraw 50% of your payout, right? So I want to be able to make $4,000, and obviously the maximum payout on a 50k typically on average is about 2k per payout cycle. So on average I want to be able to make $4,000 as fast as I can, ideally within 2 trades, and then I just play it safe to get the winning days. That allows you to be a bit more aggressive up front, and then it allows you to just ride out the winning days. And what you're going to see is that yes, you could blow a few accounts, funded accounts, but when it comes to then actually getting paid more from that funded account, you're going to have a higher chance of actually getting paid. So what I do, risk $500 in the first trade, aim for a big RR. If I take a loss, I'm going to half my risk going to the next trade. So I'm going to be risking $250 a day, get back to break even. So if that trade wins, I'm back to break even, and then I call it a day, and then tomorrow I can start again, look for a great opportunity in trade to aim for that big RR. If I take a win on that $2,000, I'm going to use what I like to call the 30% rule. If a trading setup shows up on the day, I'm going to risk 30% of my P&L on that trade. And the idea is to just maximize my profits, because if I'm on a winning streak, that trading opportunity can just be another opportunity to make money, and I'm just going to continuously do that until I take a loss. If I take a loss on that 30%, I call it a day. You never know, there's been some times where I've done this and I've ended up with like a 5k day, whereas if I just had stopped at $2,000 in a day, I never would have capitalized on those opportunities. So it's just about being dynamic within your approach when it comes to actually trading in the funded phase, because things have changed, and you're going to see why I mainly try to do this now, the more of the front run route, because things are changing in the prop firm space, and they're making rules, and they're as I'm going to cover a bit later on, they're doing things that allow you to not get as many payouts as possible now, and it's annoying. So we need to be able to mitigate that, and front running your account is one of the best ways I've seen to be able to get more payouts off an account and to be able to get paid as fast as possible. Scaling to 10k per month, because you know that's the whole essence of this series, is how do you scale to 10k per month. Things have changed, guys, right? You know, I was just saying before a little minute ago that things are changing in the prop firm space. They're trying to limit the amount of money you can get paid in your funded account, and the way they do that is, if you've noticed, right, is that you can get moved to live within 2 or 3 payouts sometimes, right? Between 2 and 3 payouts, some prop firms are just moving you to live, and if you get moved to a live account, you do notice that you only get a low account balance, and then you have to start from there, and then from that low balance you might only get one account. And if you only have one account, you know, and let's say you was up a stupid amount of money in your funded account, you can only take a small portion of that to your live account. So they're limiting their exposure on their side as prop funds. So, and by virtue of them moving you to live quicker, we need to try and get ahead of that. Essentially what you want to do, let's say you start with one account, for example, you got one funded account and you manage to get to your payout, right? If you get paid on your first payout, guys, it's very important that you buy more accounts before securing another payout. The reason why I say this is that if you have an account, a funded account that's giving you one payout, right, and it's ready for another payout, let it rest. Don't request that payout. Buy more accounts with that prop firm, trade on it, get funded more accounts, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to get another payout and get moved to live with only one account. Because if you get moved to live with only 150k account, on average of most profits, you only get moved to live with one $2,000 account. But if you get paid on that first payout, and then you buy more accounts and you try get to max funded, and then you grow those accounts, and then you start getting paid. Let's say even if you request 2 more payouts, right, and you're max funded, right? One, you're getting 5 times the payouts every payout. But not only that, is that if they move you to live, let's say within 2 payouts, right, you now have five accounts that you can potentially get moved to live. So you're not actually getting out ahead of it. So if you have 550k accounts, you're getting moved to live with $10,000 in balance, right? And by virtue of you requesting those payouts, you're going to be hitting that 10k per month way easier, because you're copy trading the accounts, and each time you're getting paid, you're getting times 5. You get $2,000 payouts, 2 times 5, 10. So the scaling potential increases rapidly when you start copy trading and you actually go for max funding before you start just securing payouts on one account. And then you can take that approach, you know, get paid again, go to another platform, buy more accounts, get max funded there, and then now you're in a position where you don't even need to only buy one account on the next platform. You're buying 3 to 4 accounts at the start, trading them all, passing them all, and then you're able to start in a better position than you were able to start at the beginning. Because obviously I know some of you guys might not have, let's say, $500 to just risk each time you want to buy accounts, right? And you want to trade all accounts at once. But if you're getting paid out, you have the opportunity and the ability to be able to risk, you know, $500 to pass 5 accounts at once and then secure payouts, and then you're able to scale to that 10k per month and beyond way easier, because you're just now implementing that on other prop firms, and that's all that matters. If you take everything I've shared with you guys in this video, I promise you, you're going to be giving yourself one of the higher and best chances to actually having success in the front phase, because I know what matters is getting paid at the end of the day, and those payouts are going to lead to more success and more things that you can do outside of trading, give you that freedom that you want. But you need to do things the right way. So I hope you guys found value in this video. Go check out the first episode if you haven't watched the first episode of this video. I'm going to leave a link to it here. Let me know in the comments as well if you found this video valuable. Let me know as well where you're at in your prop firm journey, what you're struggling with, if you're getting payouts or not. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.